Hi guys, and thank you so much for dropping by this free mini course where I'm going to be comparing Shopify and WooCommerce. Now, you might be wondering, why would I want to put a course like that together? Well, as you probably know, Shopify and WooCommerce are two massive platforms, both hugely popular for this exploding world of e-commerce that we're currently in. And I get a lot of questions every day, and I try to answer all of them. But I've now got over 25,000 students here on Udemy, and I'm one of the best selling instructors. And I've also got 2,000 people in my Facebook group, and you're very welcome to join. And when you get that kind of volume, you start to see recurring questions. You start to see recurring themes. You start to answer very often the same sorts of questions. So the question I must have been asked 100 times, possibly more, is which is best, Shopify or WooCommerce? So rather than writing out again a short description and possibly a little bit insufficient each time in my group or in answering you all on the actual Udemy system itself, I decided to put this course together, and I sincerely hope you find it very useful. So what will we be comparing on this course? Well, the first thing I want to look at is which is the easiest to install. And after that, I want you to get a feeling for how easy it is to create a great looking store. Now, I'm not going to go into great detail about how to actually do it. I have other courses for that. But you need to get a good feeling for which one's going to be easier, which one suits you best. You're basically running an e-commerce business here at the end of the day, and it's not, you don't want to spend hours and hours every day figuring out, fiddling around with complicated software solutions. So which one is the easiest? What are the differences in domain registration and email? Then I want to look at the support. This is often an oversight in my opinion. Many people don't consider it when they're buying any kind of software package, but of course when you need it, you really need it. What are the backup options? Again, something I don't think people consider necessarily properly when they look at these things. Backup is massively important. Do they both offer SSL? Now, you may or may not know what that means, but basically SSL is secure sockets layer, which essentially means, is it a secure site? Do they both offer the ability to have a secure site, and at what cost? How easy is it to add products and fulfill orders? In fact, automatically is what I'm saying here. There are solutions out there that can make your life a lot easier, both on Shopify and WooCommerce. Let's have a look at the products that are available. Which payment providers are available? Depending on where you live in the world, things can change quite a bit. So which one is going to be best for you? And of course, what are the fixed monthly costs? That's always the big question, right? We're just starting up in business here. We don't want to be bogged down in heavy monthly costs or any kind of commitments. So let's have a look, delve into that and see exactly what they're going to be. And then we're going to step back and we're going to take everything into account and basically decide which is the best for you. Well, you're going to decide which is the best for you. I'm just going to lay it out there for you. I will give you my opinion at the end of the course of which I think is best in general, but that's from my point of view, right? This course is all about you, helping you make the right decision. So we're going to delve straight into that first one, that ease of installation. And if you want to, you can actually start a Shopify free trial and you can follow along with me, but you're certainly not obliged to. In the next lecture, there's going to be a link. And if you want to click on that and follow me, please go ahead. So can't wait to share all this massive amount of knowledge with you. Let's dive straight into it. Hi guys, and welcome to this first comparison where we're going to be looking at the ease of installation. And you're going to see that they are wildly different between Shopify and WooCommerce. Okay, so we're on the Shopify installation, and I hope you've clicked on the link in the previous part there and that you're looking at this page. Now this is going to kick off a 14-day free trial, and you may not be ready for that. Okay, you're not obliged to go through this at all. You can just simply watch what I do so you get an appreciation for what Shopify is all about. But if you feel like you want to take a 14-day free trial, then obviously as we go through this, you'll need to enter your own details. All right, so the first thing we need to do is just to simply enter our email address. So I shall put in tim@ecommercemindset.com and simply click on Get Started. Now, the next thing we need to do is to create a password. So just create any old password. And then you'll want to choose a store name. Okay, so don't procrastinate. Don't get too worried about a store name at this stage. Yeah, trying to come up with something super unique and whatever. You can change this later on with no problem whatsoever. And what I say to all of my students is just basically put your name, and then after that, put something like great deals or fantastic daily bargains, this kind of thing. All right. So put into your store name. For example, I could put in here Tim's Amazing Deals. All right, that could be the name of my store. And then all I need to do is click on Create Your Store. So it does some magic in the background. And in a moment, it's going to prompt us for some questions. Okay, tell us a little about yourself. So are you already selling? I'm just playing around. And what is your current revenue? We're on 0. We're just getting started. This doesn't concern us. So just click on Next. And then this last part, because we are on the last part now, is to just put in your address so you can get paid. Now, that's a little bit of Shopify jumping the gun a bit, in my opinion. We haven't actually done anything, right? We haven't set up a store. We've done nothing. And they're already talking about us getting paid. And it also talks about your default business address, okay? Up here, business address. Let me just highlight that. Now, you probably haven't got a business set up, anything like that, and you don't need to have one in order just to benefit from this and to see how Shopify installs, okay? All you need to do is fill in very simply this form with your details. Something like this. Okay, a bit cheeky. Obviously, I'm not putting correct details there. And then just click on Enter My Store. And that's it. Shopify has installed. So that took, I don't know, I haven't looked at the time here, but I'm saying probably a minute, maybe 90 seconds. And it has installed, all right? It hasn't installed on your computer. It's installed out there on the cloud. It's managed by Shopify. Now, we're going to come back to what you're looking at now. So don't worry about it or anything. We'll come back to that. But what I wanted you to do there, this takeaway from this is just to think, okay, that's how Shopify installs. That's what it does. Pretty straightforward stuff. Now, in the next lecture, we're going to look at how WooCommerce installs, what you need for WooCommerce installation. All right, see you in a moment. So we just had a look at how to install Shopify, and we're now going to have a look at how to install WooCommerce so we can compare between the two. All right. Now, if you've had a look at the length of this lecture already, you will have noticed that it is considerably longer than the Shopify lecture because the process of installing WooCommerce is considerably more complicated and takes longer. All right. And in addition, there is no concept of a free trial. Okay, you basically have to take some sort of hosting package, and I'll explain this in a minute as we go through it. Now, that might already put you off. Yeah, you might be thinking, no way, I'm going straight to Shopify. But please, we're at the very beginning of this course, and there's an awful lot more that I want to show you before you can make a proper decision between the two. Okay, there are various other pricing for Shopify, for example, down the road. It might be free to set up, but that doesn't mean, of course, that it's going to be free forever, right? It's a business. So, you need to have the complete picture. So please don't jump the gun and just let me explain to you how to set up WooCommerce. Now, as I stated back in one of the previous lectures, WooCommerce is built on WordPress. Okay, and WordPress is this gigantic piece of software which powers millions of websites around the world. Now, the point of telling you that is that you basically need to host your own website, okay, in order to have WooCommerce. You in fact need to host your own WordPress site in order to host WooCommerce. Now, if all of this is starting to sound a little bit sort of, gobbledygook and is not really making any sense to you, these kind of words, please don't worry. I'm going to show you what to do. And if you want to do this yourself, then again, feel free to, enter your own personal details and set this up should you want to. But if you don't, just watch what I do, okay? It's actually all point and click. It's actually all very, very simple. So I've got you covered all this. Don't worry, just follow what I do. Okay, so here I am on a site called tmdhosting.com. Okay, now this is just a web hosting company. There are hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, probably web hosting companies out there globally. TMD Hosting is a company that I work with a lot, and they are great price and also have superb support. So I use them, I recommend them. If you've done any of my other courses, you'll see also that I work with TMD Hosting on those. So again, you're not obliged to do any of this whatsoever, okay? So, but if you want to, head over to tmdhosting.com, and what we want to do is click on this WordPress hosting. So we click on that first of all. And what I'm going to do is scroll down through all of this to the plans. Okay, so they have 3 different plans, and you only need to think about the starter plan. All right, so $2.85 a month, and in fact, there's a little discount on that as well, so it'll be slightly less than that. Okay, so all you need to do is click on sign up. And you'll be on the first part of their order form where you need to basically pick a domain name. All right. So as I said in the previous lecture, don't stress this. Just basically take your name and put something on the end like amazing deals, great bargains, superb daily deals, whatever it might be. All right. Something generic, something simple, something that will be available. So I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to put in here Tim's amazing daily deals, okay, and just simply click on proceed. Now the wheels will turn while it checks to see if that .com is in fact available, and sure enough, congratulations, it is. So at this stage I need to put in some personal details, so I put in my first name, my last name, all the normal stuff. I'll let you fill this in, and then we're going to scroll down then to the payment information. Okay, so as I said, you need to pay first in order to get to this, but luckily it's very reasonably priced. So pick your credit card and all that kind of thing, card number, and then I'm going to scroll down here to the purchase information. This is just the very last thing that you will need to consider. So you choose a data center location. Okay, they've got a few dotted around the world. You might want to pick the one nearest to you. That's typically it. Or you might want to pick the one that's more the sort of epicenter of your business. All right, it's entirely up to you. I live in France, so it's defaulting to Amsterdam, so I'm just going to leave it on that. It's all very fast. It really doesn't make a huge amount of difference, to be honest. You pick your plan, okay, whichever one you want. And I would check off this domain privacy. You really don't need that at the moment. Take that off, okay. Turn it off. She's going to drop the price down by another $10. And then put in here this little promo code to drop the price even further. If you put in here success now, and then click on apply, it'll take it down by another 7%. So there you go. After that, you just need to agree to the TMD hosting service and click on the checkout. And when the screen refreshes, you should see something like this. Now, we don't want to join the beta, so we're just going to click on maybe later. So then we want to click on services and just scroll down towards the bottom here, this hosting account. Now I've got 2 in here from previous courses, etc. So you'll just have the one. So here's the one that I registered, Tim's Amazing Daily Deals. Okay, and I just want you to click on cPanel. All right, so you click on cPanel. Another screen opens up with millions of little icons. We're just going to click on OK here to get rid of that. Loads of icons, ignore them all, okay, and come down to the bottom here where you have this Softaculous, if that's how you say it, apps installer. Hope you can see that where I'm spinning the cursor around. And you can see here WordPress, okay, WordPress. So look for it in this list. If it's not exactly here, scroll around this list and find it. And just click on WordPress. And now we get this classic WordPress installation page. all kinds of stuff on here, okay? The only thing you need to do is click on Install Now. And you come to this page, which is basically just filling in a form before the final installation actually happens. So we choose a protocol, we can leave that as is. We can choose our domain, I can leave that as is. Yeah, that's my Tim's Amazing Daily Deals. I want you to take out this WP, that's important, okay? So that remains blank now. For the site name, we will call it Tim's Amazing Daily Deals, and here we could just put in Amazing Daily Deals, yeah? Just a very simple example. Now we have to create a username and password to log in to WordPress when we need it, okay? So we've got a username admin, we can leave that as is, but then you need to create a password of some sort. An admin email, that's absolutely fine as is. My language, so English probably for most of you. And then come all the way down here and simply click on this install button right at the end. So click on install. This might take a little while. And there we have it. WordPress has installed. Now, again, we've got loads of stuff on this screen. I want you to draw your attention to this administrative URL, okay? This is basically where we're going to manage our site from. So we click on this. And here we are. This is the classic WordPress administration page, okay? Welcome to WordPress. All kinds of stuff on here. I'm not in this course going to explain any of this because I'm basically trying to make a comparison between Shopify and WordPress so you can make your own decisions. If you want to learn about WordPress and how to do stuff, have a look at my other courses. I got some links below if those are interesting for you. Now, what we want to do, our very last part here is to install WooCommerce. Yeah, that was what we were doing from the very beginning. So what we do is we in fact install a plugin. All right, so we go to plugins and we go to add new. And we type into here, in the keyword here where it says search plugins, we type in WooCommerce. And here it is. This is the famous WooCommerce installation, okay? 1 million plus active installs. You know, this might be a little bit complicated to set up, but you're in very, very capable hands. Click on Install Now. And once that's finished, you just click on Activate. Now, we have to go through a very quick wizard here, okay? Either you can click on Not Right Now, or you can click on Let's Go. I'm going to click on Let's Go because it's very quick. Basically takes you through some very simple setup procedures. So it's going to create some pages for you, the shop and the cart, the checkout and my account. So we may as well set those up. Where is my store based? Okay, France, Euro, probably whatever the defaults are for you, it will be different. Continue. My weights and measures, continue. Now, my payment system, okay, now I'm not going to cover payment systems in this course, obviously, but, you know, we would select one of these and we would continue. And I'm actually going to skip this step with installing a theme because it's not really necessary at this stage. And I'm just going to skip this step and that should be it. So, all done, yeah, want to help make WooCommerce even better. No thanks. And then let's basically click on this little grey thing down here, return to the to the WordPress dashboard. Now, believe it or not, you have now installed not only WordPress but also WooCommerce, and you are now ready to go with an e-commerce store. Okay, a lot of stuff just went on there. Okay, so in the next lecture, I'm just going to do a little bit of sum up. Take a breather, and we're going to do a little bit of sum up right now. So if you just watch me go all the way through the installation of Shopify and then through WooCommerce. Congratulations for bearing with me. But what I hope you have now, I mean what you really do have now in fact, is a really good appreciation for the proper difference between those two products. Yeah, the two leading products really have a very, very different installation process. I haven't looked at the details of it at all. I haven't looked at what the store looks like yet. None of that stuff. That's not the purpose of this course. It's not the purpose of this section even. What I'm trying to do as we go through this is to give you a proper appreciation of the difference between the two so that you can make the correct decision at the end of this course. So, there we have it. Now, as I said before, at this stage already you might be thinking, well, Shopify is so much simpler, which it definitely is on the installation, of course, that I'm just going to go with Shopify. But it's not the end of the story. Please bear with me. At the end of the course, I'll talk about pricing. Okay, pricing is always a big one, obviously, and that might sway you at the end. So bear with me, and let's move on to the next comparison. Okay, so in this next section, I want to make a comparison between Shopify and WooCommerce as to how easy it is to build out a great looking store. Okay, you're trying to run an e-commerce business ultimately, so you don't want to be, having to spend a huge amount of time or a huge amount of cost building out a great looking store. So ease of use is very, very important. Now, I'm going to start with Shopify, so here I am. Now, the first thing I want to show you is that when we did that installation back a couple of lectures ago, it did in fact install a store for us. Okay, what we're looking at here right now is the back end. It's the back office. It's where you're going to do all the customization, manage your customers, manage your products, manage your orders, etc. But we do in fact have a store already created. And in order to see that, all I need to do is click on this little eye here. I'm circulating here. I hope you can see that. Click on the eye, and my store will open up. Now, straight off the bat, we can see that we've sort of got something here. Yeah, we've got a very nice bare bones store. We've got a semblance of some sort of logo. We've got a home. We've got a catalog up the top here. We can search, and this is a cart. Clearly, this is somewhere where we can put a nice image. If I scroll down, we have a feature collection. We've got the idea of adding products in at prices. Yeah. We got another place here for perhaps a larger image or to show off a particular product. So straight away, without doing anything, Shopify has built for us a very nice starting point. Now let's go back to the back end and have a look at some of the other sort of key areas. And really, I don't want to delve into detail of this. This is not a tour of Shopify. But the two main areas probably are creating pages and adding products to your store. Let's say that those are the two main things. Now, to create pages, all we need to do is click on online store here. And, we get various options down here in the menu, and we can go to pages and we can add pages. This is super easy to add pages to your store. Equally, if I go up here to products and click on products, I can add products. Yeah, this is very, very easy to add products into your Shopify store every time. Now, the third thing I would say that is of super importance is what's called themes. Okay, we just had a look at the store itself. And in order to make that store look really, really good, we'd like a nice, easy way to do that. And what Shopify provides is a concept called themes. And themes are kind of like a shop window, if you like. Yeah, this is the back end, this is the back office, and the theme provides you with, let's say the window display of your store. Okay, and there are many, many themes. There are many, many window displays to carry on that analogy. There are probably thousands and thousands of themes out there. Now, to get a theme, to change the look of your store, all you need to do is to click onto your online store, go to themes. In fact, it defaults straight to themes here. And you can see at the moment that my current theme is what's called the debut theme. Yeah, it's what basically Shopify comes with to start with. But as I scroll down, you can see there's a couple of options here for free themes and the Shopify theme store. So if we just stay with free themes for the moment, click on explore them. And I have a handful of themes. Now I just want to demonstrate to you how easy this is, okay? So imagine I want to take, let's say, this simple theme here. This one appeals to me. I select it. and just come down here and say, click on Install Simple. And in order to publish that, I just click on Publish and publish again. Right, now my current theme now is my simple theme. And if I go back to my site, let me just scroll up before I refresh. So this is what we had, and now I refresh. Suddenly the look and feel is completely changed. Yeah. So themes are incredibly powerful ways of really making your store look very, very professional, very, very quickly. So there's no question that with Shopify, building out a great looking store is in fact very, very simple. Now let's compare and contrast with WooCommerce. Okay, so here I am on the dashboard of WordPress, which is, the equivalent of the Shopify administration system. And let's do a very similar process so we can make a proper comparison. Now, in the beginning there of the last lecture, I talked about how Shopify had given you a store for free. And in fact, WordPress has done the same thing. So let's have a look and see what they're able to do for us. So in order to do that, we just go up to this top bit here and go to Visit Site. Now, this is your site that you get for free. Okay, we've got a plant on a table with Tim's amazing daily deals and what looks like a sort of the beginning of a blog. All right, that's what we are presented with. Yes, it's on our domain name, but no, it's nothing like what Shopify presented us with in the beginning. So we can get there, we can get to that final spot, but you can see already that it's going to require a little bit more work. Now, let's go back to the dashboard and just have a look, first of all, at how easy it would be to add in the pages and the products that I showed you on Shopify. So for example, with pages, it is super easy. All you need to do is go down to pages and add new. And we could add in any old page that we want here. Similarly with products, just come down to products here and click on add new. And we can add in products and add images and all that kind of good stuff. So it is in fact very easy to add products and pages, as easy I would say in WordPress WooCommerce as it is with Shopify. There's no doubt about that. Now, the third thing we looked at were themes, and WordPress has exactly the same concept. So let's have a look and compare how we can actually maybe improve this store straight away with a theme. So let's come down to appearance here and themes, okay? Now this is our existing theme. You recognize the plant pot on the table. If we wanted to add a new theme, we would click on add new. And much like Shopify, there are thousands to choose from. I showed you on Shopify a few of the free ones. Most of them are paying. It's a similar story here with WordPress, to be honest. There's some free ones, but most of them are paying. They're range between, let's say, $50 and $200, something like that for a theme. So what we would do here is we search themes. Now there's a popular e-commerce theme called Storefront. So if I type in Storefront here, it should pop up. There we go. So here's Storefront, and in order to install that, I just need to click on the Install button. And once that's complete, just click on Activate. And that's it. It has in fact now changed my theme. If I scroll down a bit here, you'll now see that the active theme was Storefront. Our old theme, which was called 2017 for reasons I've never figured out, is now over here amongst the themes that we could install later. But here we go. We are now active Storefront. So if I go back to my store now, okay, and refresh, we suddenly get a transformation. Okay, there's still a lot of work to do here, but we get a transformation. Suddenly we've now got carts, checkouts, my account. We've got a shop page. We can search products. We've got this cart button here, yeah? I mean, there's still a lot to do, but suddenly we've got something that starts to resemble, at least, an e-commerce store. So you can see that within a few clicks what you can do on Shopify, and you can see that what you can do with a few clicks on WordPress. WordPress is amazing, but it does require quite a bit more work to get you to that point where you've got a great looking store. So let's sum up the difference between these two. Okay, so let's sum up the difference between Shopify and WooCommerce when it comes to creating a great looking store. Now, I know we only literally brushed against what actually needs to be done. But I hope it gave you some sort of appreciation of what you might actually need to go through in order to make it happen. I can also add to this a huge amount of experience in setting up both Shopify and also WordPress WooCommerce stores. And what I can tell you is that they are both super platforms for creating your e-commerce platform. You can definitely create a fantastic looking store with Shopify, and you can definitely create a fantastic looking store with WooCommerce. The only difference being is that with Shopify, it is easier. Yeah, it's more point and click, it's more intuitive, it's less cluttered because it's so focused purely on e-commerce. When you go over to WooCommerce, you can do all that same stuff. You need to have a little bit more training in order to do it. And when I say a little bit more, maybe a day or two or something like that, but a fairly short period of time, and you'd be up to speed on creating a great looking store. But yeah, you need to learn a little bit more. I don't want to repeat myself too much, but the WordPress system is set up for all kinds of sites, not just e-commerce stores. So you need to navigate your way through that a little bit more, but you can definitely do it. So two fantastic platforms. Shopify, a little bit easier to set up your great looking store than WooCommerce, in my opinion. Okay, so in this next section, we now want to talk about domains and email, because we need to host our site ultimately on a proper domain, which I don't know if you've noticed, that's not actually the case with Shopify. So if I go over to my store here, for example, you'll see that the domain name, apologies if that's a bit small, but it's timsamazingdeals.myshopify.com. Yeah, that's not a domain name that we can build out a professional looking store on. We need www.timsamazingdeals.com or wherever it is for you. Okay, so we're going to have to purchase a domain at some point, and we're also going to have to set up email on that domain. And there's a difference between how you do this on Shopify and how you do this on WordPress ultimately. So I just want to show you the difference, because there's costs involved and there's a certain amount of complexity involved with both. So let's have a look at Shopify. I go back to the admin system. Now, in order to purchase a domain, if I wanted to purchase Tim's Amazing Deals, myshopify.com, I would come down under the online store thing here that I just opened and click on domains. Now, Shopify has a domain purchase possibility. So I can just come in here and say, buy new domain. And then I can type into here, Tim's Amazing Deals. .com, for example. Well, there you go. It provides me with a bunch of possible domain extensions, but the .com there is $14 per year to buy, and I could buy that now with Shopify. So there's a cost there, a little over $1 a month for having the domain. Now, before we do that, I want you to appreciate the situation with email, okay? Because Shopify does not have an email service. And I'm really not sure why that is. But anyway, the point is that it doesn't have an email service. What happens is that you buy your domain, so timsamazingdeals.com, and I would have an email address, for example, support@timsamazingdeals.com, but that would just simply forward to my personal email. So imagine you've got your own personal email, bob@gmail.com, whatever. Then it's going to forward on to your personal email. Now, that's a free service, and you might think, well, that's pretty cool, that's free. But in fact, if you're building out a store, a business, ultimately, it's really not a great solution. What you're doing there is you're receiving business email on your personal account and having to reply in that way. Now, it gets messy, and we're really talking about as well, if you want to set up a couple of other emails, I always suggest things like sales, billing, support, for example, as 3 different emails. Then they're all going to forward to your one personal email address. And the whole thing gets very messy, and it's difficult really to, in my opinion, also very unprofessional, to build out a proper looking store in that manner. So if I go back and just come out of this, you'll see just written slightly smaller, because this is not necessarily what they want you to do, but there's connect existing domain. Now, What that means is that I could purchase a domain elsewhere. Now I could buy a domain in all kinds of places, yeah. GoDaddy's a well-known domain provider, and I showed you TMD before, which also where you can buy a domain. Now don't confuse setting up a domain with email. Some people think that for $10 when they buy a domain, or $1 or whatever it is that some promotion might be doing, that you're going to get email with it. You're not. You're going to get just a domain. And to set up email on a good provider, it's going to cost you $2 to $3 a month, typically. All right. So for example, if I go over to TMD to show you what they would offer, you'd be on something like this. You come down to one of their shared hosting plans. You would buy a domain, and with that you get the support and you get the, as many email addresses as you want to set up through a webmail interface. But that provides you then with a professional email setup, which in my opinion is very, very important, no matter which provider you go through, okay? I believe that you really should do it that way. And then what you do is you go back to Shopify. So if I come back here, and we would then connect our existing domain. So imagine we bought timsamazingdeals.com through TMD. We would then come through a process here on Shopify, which is actually reasonably straightforward, to integrate that existing domain. And then what we've got is our store, timsamazingdeals.com, hosted on Shopify just as we want, but we've got a nice professional email setup in the background. So that's going to cost an extra $2 to $3 a month for that. But I believe for your your most important communication process, that is definitely worth it. So now let's have a look at how we would do the domain and email setup for WooCommerce. Now we already have a domain. We did that. Yeah, when we set it up, we went through that fairly extended, at least compared to the Shopify, a fairly extended installation process. But during that, we bought our domain. We bought timsamazingdeals.com. And if I go over here, here it is. I'm on my domain already. So there is no domain to purchase. That's already included, if you like. And in fact, the good news is it's the same story with email. If I go over to my TMD hosting area now, you'll see what I mean. So if I nip over here I am on the client area, and I go down to services, and I scroll down towards the bottom of the page to where your domain is, you'll see there's a webmail button here. Now I'm not going to use this opportunity to show you how to set up webmail. That's not what this lecture is about. But just know that you have webmail or email already set up. You can set up any number of email addresses you want. It's all included in your package. There is nothing more to do. So I wanted to include a section on support because I think that a lot of people don't really think about, how good support might be once they get into their e-commerce package. They're thinking about setting up their store and all the great products they're gonna use. But at some point, you're gonna need some help. We all need some help at some point. And when we come to that point, we want a good support system. We want a system that's reactive and that people are going to help us and they genuinely know what they're talking about. And often we don't even think about that until we actually need it at that point. So I'm on the Shopify Help Center here. Now, you've got the message by now that Shopify is a specific e-commerce platform. It's a company. It's quoted on the stock exchange. You can buy shares in Shopify if you want. So customer support is super, super important. So when you sign up for Shopify, you've got, support all over the place. So just a couple of examples here. We're here to help 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can chat, you can email, you can give us a call, you can send a tweet. There's multiple ways of getting in contact with them. Over here, we have basically the e-commerce university, also hosted by Shopify, with zillions of forums and discussions and all sorts of stuffs going on. There's thousands and hundreds of thousands probably now of Shopify stores out there. So there's a massive amount of support, not just by Shopify, but elsewhere on the web. So when it comes to support, Shopify have definitely got you covered. So support for WooCommerce is a slightly different concept because, as you know, WooCommerce is built on the WordPress platform. And WordPress is an open source piece of software. It's not got that same company structure. It's not listed on the stock exchange in the same way that Shopify is. It's not got that central business approach to the way that it's all set up. It's really quite a different proposition altogether. Now, you still have plenty of support, okay? You don't have that central support that Shopify has. But for example, if I go over to this particular URL here, the woocommerce.com, contact us, I can ask basic questions, technical questions, sales questions, what have you. I've got some semblance of support for the WooCommerce plugin, right? There will be similar stuff here for WordPress support. And throughout the internet, there are very well developed forums, Facebook groups, etc. Don't forget, WordPress has been around for a lot longer than Shopify. WordPress was set up back in 2003, I believe, and WooCommerce shortly after that. So it's a very, very mature product. And as a result, you will find all kinds of support methods throughout the internet. But the difference is, if you like, is that you're not going to have that kind of central support that Shopify offers. But don't make any mistake, the support is certainly there. So backups are hugely important, and again, I think it's one of those things for the most part that people don't really think about, particularly when they're setting up their store. They're thinking again about all the good fun stuff to do, but backup is not really one of them, and it's only something they'll reach for should something go wrong. Now, this section is perhaps less of a comparison technically because both platforms have a fantastic backup solutions. But it's really just to make you realize that there's going to be potentially, should you want to, it is optional, but potentially some additional costs. So towards the end, when we start talking about costs, I'll put that in because I want to give you a good idea of exactly how much this thing is going to cost you per month, both for Shopify and for WooCommerce. Now, you can just leave it up to Shopify if you want, but if you wanted to, you could install a backup app, and it will cost a small fee typically. So for that, I would go to the app store on Shopify. And by the way, Shopify has an excellent app store, and so does WooCommerce. They're called plugins on WooCommerce, but it's exactly the same principle. So both have excellent app stores for you to download and increase the functionality of your store. So if you were wondering about the difference between those two, I would say that they're very, very comparable. So if we crack on and just visit the app store itself, and into the search bar here, if I just typed backup and went for rewind, for example, you can see that there's a $5 per month fee for that. And for that, you've got, in my mind, peace of mind, all right? You should have typically 7 backups stored, because even though something's getting backed up, you may become corrupted, and then you end up backing up a corrupted file, if you see what I mean. So you need to have a series of backups to make that happen. So again, this is optional, but I would encourage you to, and I'm going to add it into the costs at the end when we make an overall comparison. So on Shopify, we have a potential $5 per month to back up our site professionally. And I've not to date, maybe somebody will contact me, found a free backup app on Shopify, which I feel is very reliable. Okay, that's actually got a free trial, that one that we looked at just now for 7 days. But we're talking about $5 a month. Conversely, on WordPress, WooCommerce, we do have a free app for backing up, and it's called Updraft. And the way that you basically install that is you go to plugins to add new. And by the way, there are lots of backup type solutions, but Updraft is just a popular one. And here we go, I search for backup, and this one comes up straight away. So I've actually installed this already just to basically, save your time. So if I go up to Updraft Plus, which is what we've got here, and click on my current status of backup, basically what I can do is back up now, manually straight away, and I can send that backup off site, which is another very important thing. Send it off to somewhere like Dropbox, for example, or have it emailed to me, or whatever it might be. But basically, I'm getting it off the WordPress platform. So if anything should happen, I have got an off-site backup, which is very, very important. So in my experience of using Updraft Plus, it has been absolutely excellent. There is, of course, a paying version, but quite frankly, for what we're doing here, particularly in the beginning, this is more than enough. So really, you can, I think I can say this, you can back up with pretty securely, with almost 100% peace of mind, your WordPress WooCommerce site for free. So SSL, Secure Sockets Layer, is a very important aspect of any e-commerce store. Basically, what it means is that transactions over a secure store are secure, right? They're encrypted. So I put up PayPal here just for demonstration, and forgive me if you already know this, but here we have, for example, HTTPS. Okay, and we see a little padlock over here. I hope you can see that. It's not too small. But basically, anything that happens on PayPal, as you might expect, is encrypted back and forth between the browser and, let's say, their server, in very simplistic terms. And it's the same thing with our e-commerce store. One, we want that, right? We have payments going on, for example. But two, it's good for the customer too. It gives them a feeling of security, which is very, very important when you're asking them to buy something from your site. So, what we want to make sure is that both these platforms have SSL, which they do, I can tell you that straight away, and we're going to see how we would actually implement it on each one and whether there are any additional costs involved again when it comes to making our overall cost comparison a bit later on. Now, on Shopify, if I go back here, I can't actually show you how the SSL thing would work, but it would be down here in domains basically. And because I haven't registered a domain with this free version, but it's actually very, very straightforward. You literally, it's more or less a button click and you're done. And you've installed SSL on Shopify and it's completely free. Okay, so with Shopify, that's done. Now, with WordPress, there is a misconception sometimes that you have to go and buy an SSL certificate. So let's have a look at that because I want to dispel that myth right now. Okay, so when it comes to SSL with WordPress WooCommerce, we need to go to our domain provider. Yeah, the HTTPS is associated with the domain. So we go to our domain provider. So that's why you're sitting here looking at my TMD client hosting area. Now, I can't say that for every single host out there that what I'm about to show you is available. But you're going to see right now that certainly with TMD, SSL certificates are in fact free. Now, this is important because the general sort of feeling, what's banded around is that an SSL certificate, will cost you sort of $40 to $50 as a one-off fee, which for some people might not be anything, that doesn't bother them, but for many people, that's a lot of money. And so if we don't have to worry about that with our initial setup fees, then that's a very, very good thing. So here I am, as I say, on the client area. Let me click on the services, as usual, and scroll down. Here's my domain here, and I'm going to go to my cPanel. Now, when this opens up, we've got all these millions of fantastic icons. And if I scroll down a little bit here, we come down to this security section. And here we have something called Let's Encrypt SSL. Now, if I click on this, it will tell you that Let's Encrypt is an effort to provide free domain validated certificates in an automated fashion. So that's another thing with SSL. Often after 80, 90 days, I forget exactly what it is, you'd have to go and reissue it again. But you don't have to do this. This does it automatically. Now, this is a free service. This SSL certificate is free. I hope I've made that very clear now. And, I've obviously used this many times with TMD on my various sites, and it works absolutely perfectly. It's very, very straightforward to do. Again, I'm not going to show you. That's not the purpose of this course. But I just want you to take the biggest takeaway from this is that SSL is free, both on WordPress WooCommerce and on Shopify. So if you're planning on using your e-commerce store to do drop shipping, which is what so many people are doing now and is certainly what I teach primarily, then what's happened in the last few years is that some fantastic products have come onto the market that allow you to basically automatically add products from websites such as AliExpress, and then in the back end to also automate the order fulfillment. So these are huge time-saving products, okay? They are not mandatory by any means. It's totally optional. You don't have to take them. But they're there and they certainly should be looked at, which is why I want to make a comparison between what Shopify has and what WooCommerce has. So what we're looking at here is the Shopify solution known as Oberlo. And to give you some idea of the importance of Oberlo to Shopify, they actually recently purchased this outright. So I can tell you from a lot of experience of using this product and also the WooCommerce products, that this product in particular is excellent. So I'm not going to dwell on how well it works or how well it doesn't work. I do go into detail of some of that in my other courses. So if we accept that it's a great product, what we really want to compare therefore is pricing. So let's have a look at that. Now, what we see is that there's a starter package for no dollars, okay, so completely free. Now, that's a great way to get started with the product. Now, you'll see that you can add here 500 products per month. That's a lot of products, yeah? An AliExpress store or your own e-commerce store importing products from AliExpress with over 500 products a month, that's going to be a big store, and you're very, very unlikely to need anything more than that. So what you need to pay particular attention to, therefore, is the number of orders. Now, here we have a total number of orders of 50. That's the max. So let's imagine that you were making a $10 profit, or you were selling products, let's say, for $20 every time. That means you've got a total revenue of $1,000 a month before you've maxed out your starter plan. Now, $1,000 a month is not a big e-commerce store. You should be aspiring to at least something like $10,000 a month with a drop shipping store, which therefore would put you more or less straight away into the basic package, yeah? $29.90, more or less $30 a month to use this product. Now, that might seem like quite a bit of money, but I will say that if you have reached that point where you're doing somewhere between $50 and $500 a month, orders a month, then this $30 investment, with the amount of time it will save you and also allow you to improve how you're organized, is definitely well worth it. So now let's have a look at what WooCommerce has on offer. And there are two products in particular that I recommend because I've used them. And again, they are both excellent. So I'm not going to dive into the details of basically how they work and what's good and what's not. They are great products, okay? And there are actually more than these two, but these are the two that I like to talk about with confidence and, as I say, recommend to people. So the first one is called Ali Dropship. I'm on alidropship.com, and again, this is a plugin or an app into your WooCommerce store, so super easy to install and get going. Now, again, let's basically look at pricing because that's really what we're comparing here in this comparison section. So if I click on Buy Plugin, you'll see that it's $89. All right, that's a one-off fee. Okay, now there is no concept of a free trial here, but this is a one-off fee of $89, which is, in my opinion, really very good. If you think with what we just looked at with Shopify, where we were looking at $30 a month very quickly for Oberlo, this is $89. All right, and that's also a site fee, just as a little aside. So if you do 2 sites or 3 sites, you're going to have to pay $89 each time. But yeah, regardless of how many orders you do, regardless of how many products you add, this is always going to be $89. So pretty interesting stuff. Now the other one is Woo Dropship over here. Okay, now they really talk explicitly about AliExpress on their side, and if we go over to their pricing, they've got something that's a little bit more comparable perhaps with the pricing of Oberlo, because again, they sort of base it on orders. First of all, we've got a free trial. Okay, so I would definitely encourage you to have a look at that. Why not? Now, if we go to the very first plan, given that this ends after 7 days, if we go to the very first plan, again, we can import loads of products, right? 3,000, that's a huge amount. So 15,000, 60,000. What we want to focus on is this. So this will allow you to fulfill 15 orders per month, okay? So, again, if we use $20 as a as a selling price, just as an example, then $300 on your store per month, you're going to max out this $14 plan very, very quickly. All right. So if we look at 150 over here on the 29 a month plan, now we're starting to look, a little bit more like a store that's maybe been in place for 3 to 6 months. So you're probably fairly quickly into a $29 month deal. But to go to unlimited orders, you're going to have to pay $49. Now, I would say, long term, maybe the first month you're on the $14 plan. Maybe the first 1, 2, 3, 4 months you're on the $29 a month plan. But pretty quickly, and obviously it depends on your order value, but pretty quickly you're going to be at the $49 a month. So when I look at this product and when I recommend it to people, I say to them, think of it as a $49 per month product. So in this section, I want to look at payment providers across the 2 different platforms. Now, clearly, getting paid on your e-commerce store is super, super important, and you're going to need to install a payment provider at some point. Now, I will say straight off the bat that, as you would expect, Shopify and WooCommerce have got this well covered. So with both platforms, you're in very, very good hands. So let's get straight into it. So Shopify will accept all major payment providers, okay? But they need to be available in your country. Now, if you live in the US and Canada and Western Europe, etc., you're probably not going to have a problem with getting payment providers. But I do understand that, with students all over the world, that in some countries it can actually be quite difficult to get a payment provider. But if you can get that payment provider sorted out, Shopify will accept it. They will integrate. Now, one major difference between Shopify and WooCommerce, the major difference in fact, is what Shopify call, imaginatively, Shopify payments, okay? Now, the first thing you need to understand is that this is only available in US, Canada, UK, Australia, Ireland, and New Zealand, all right? So if you're outside of those areas, Shopify payments will not even apply. In fact, I myself living in France, I cannot benefit from Shopify payments. So it's kind of frustrating, but if you live in those countries, this could be of interest. Now, what Shopify have done, because as you can see, there are no installation costs and there's a 2.5% processing fee. So what they've done is they've made it super, super easy, basically, to set up a payment provider. In other words, their very own one. They want you to go with their payment provider, obviously, because they make money from you every time. In fact, 2.5%. Every single time. So, that's a very, very big plus for the customer, for ourselves setting up the store, because it's easy. And in fact, the processing fees, as you will see, are actually lower. And obviously, it's a very good thing for Shopify too, because they're grabbing a little bit of your sales every month. Now, if we look at other providers, so for example, PayPal, all right, any other provider, in fact, that you might want to integrate into Shopify, what Shopify does is it charges you a transaction fee of 1%, okay, no matter what. And then you're going to have to pay the transaction fee of the provider, for example, PayPal, of 2 to 5% on top of that. So if you just step back from that and have a look at it, have a think about it, what Shopify have done is by putting on that 1% transaction fee, which is just a fee that they've effectively made up, right? They are pushing you towards Shopify payments above, because if you look at that now, that comparison, you can see that it's potentially a lot cheaper. So all very well if you can get Shopify payments, but if you can't, then you're going to have to go with another provider, PayPal in this example I'm doing here. You're going to have to pay 1% to Shopify every time you sell, and you're going to have to pay a transaction fee to your provider of 2 to 5%. So let's imagine you do $10,000 worth of sales. You're going to be giving 1%, so $100 to Shopify, and you're going to be giving perhaps somewhere between $200 and $500 to your payment provider. Now, don't hold me to these exact percentages. I'm doing general numbers here, okay, throughout this little part of the presentation, because, just to give you an idea, these might not be exact, but they're certainly ballpark. So there we go. That's Shopify. Now, with WooCommerce, exactly the same deal. All major payment providers accepted if they are available in your country, okay? Shopify payments is not applicable. So in fact, the whole process over here with WooCommerce is a lot simpler. So again, other providers, we don't have to worry clearly about a 1% Shopify transaction fee. So we're just going to pay PayPal, in this case, somewhere between 2 and 5%. So let's just do a quick sum up. Let's go back to that $10,000 per month example that I gave you. So over here on Shopify payments with $10,000, we're looking at basically losing, if you like, about $250 in processing fees. Down here with our other providers of Shopify, we're looking at potentially losing between $300 and $600 dollars in processing fees. Okay, so big difference there. Over here on WooCommerce, we basically don't have the choice of Shopify, so we're looking at basically losing between $200 and $500 in transaction fees. So I hope that gives you a good idea. You look at that, Shopify payments, if you've got it, is pretty much your best bet, but it does have to be available. So one of the major considerations, obviously, is going to be your fixed monthly costs. You're going to have some variable costs, and I'll have a look at that in the very final lecture. But you're going to have some fixed monthly costs. No matter what happens, you're going to have to pay these costs, right? So that's something to really think about when you're starting up a business. You want to know where you stand, what you're going to have to pay every month, whether you succeed or whether you do mediocre or whether you have trouble or whatever it might be. So this is what you're going to have to pay every single month. Now, one thing we have not yet talked about is the fact that we are still in this Shopify free trial, and we're going to have to basically finish that at some point and choose Shopify plans. We're going to have to choose one of their plans. So let's have a look and see how much those actually are. All right, so here I am on my Shopify admin, and if you've done this trial with me, then you're going to see the same thing. You have so many days left of your trial and select a plan. It's all over the place, right? So let's select a plan, and we're going to get some details about what it is that we can actually choose. So here we go. Now, these plans, first off the bat, you can start and stop when you want, all right? But here are the main pricing. So you've got $29 per month. You've got $79 a month, and you've got $299 a month. Now, I can tell you straight off the bat, you do not need $299 per month. So you can breathe a sigh of relief there. And although it says most popular $79 per month, I would say you also don't really need to go for the $79 per month either. And one of the reasons for that is that $29 you can actually upgrade at any point to the $79. So it can follow you a bit. If you do the maths, and I've done this, I think you work it out at something like $5,000 worth of sales per month. And you may as well go for the $79 per month, because the transaction fee that we talked about in the previous lecture is lower. See, this transaction fee here is 1%, whereas over here it's 2%. Okay, so that's when there's a point at which one becomes more attractive than the other. But just starting out, I'm trying to give you the best advice I can here. Just starting out, $29 per month probably makes more sense. So that's your fixed cost of $29 per month. So let's go back to my previous slide. Okay, so the plan is going to cost us $29 every single month. Now, the other thing we looked at was email. So you remember I said to you about how you will need to have an external email provider, in my opinion, to run a professional looking business. And that's going to cost you $2 to $3 per month also, which I consider to be very worthwhile. You've also got a backup, which I explained was optional, but again, I strongly believe that that's a very, very good investment. So we got $5 for that. Now, those are basically our fixed costs, all right? We don't really have to worry about anything else for the time being, certainly in the beginning, all right? So if I add all that up, and if I just take $3 for the email, then I'm going to get a total monthly fixed cost of $37. Okay, so $37 every single month for Shopify, whether you make any money or not. Okay, you're going to have to come up with that. Right, let's compare that to WooCommerce. Okay, so let's have a look at the WooCommerce fixed monthly costs by comparison. Well, first of all, our plan is zero. There is no concept of a plan with WordPress WooCommerce. It's an open source platform and it's basically free. You're never going to give any money to WooCommerce or WordPress. So the plan is zero. Email, right, plus hosting. So we looked at that, right at the very, very beginning of all this, when I took you through the fairly lengthy process of installing WordPress. I paid for a hosting plan to make that happen. And that was around about $2 to $3 a month that we were looking at there for our hosting plan. Our backup, I showed you a very nice backup solution, which is completely free. So we're at $0 there as well. So by stark comparison with Shopify, we have a total monthly fixed cost of $2 to $3. So massively different. But cost is not, the be all and end all. We can't just look at costs and decide purely on that. Or if you do, I think you're making an uninformed decision, which is why I basically compared a bunch of different things through this course, which I hope you've appreciated. So let's finish off by actually comparing everything so that you really can make an informed decision as to whether you want to take Shopify or WooCommerce. Fantastic. So if you've reached this point, I really hope that you felt that was a worthwhile use of your time to learn the differences between Shopify and WooCommerce. So let's do a final sum up, the final showdown, if you like. Let's see how these two compare based on everything that we've looked at so far. So the first thing we looked at was ease of installation. I think you'd have to agree that, it goes to Shopify, really. I'm going to have to give that one to Shopify. The only caveat I'm going to add there is, installation is something you do once. So whereas the WordPress process, might be a little bit more complicated, at least you're only going to do it once. But in any case, it's definitely a lot easier to install Shopify in the first instance. Ease of use, okay? How easy it is to create a great store. Now, if you haven't had the opportunity to delve into these products, and you may well not have done, certainly not both of them, I can tell you from a lot of experience that Shopify is a lot easier to use. Okay, I think I sort of alluded to that during my comparisons, and it's primarily because the WooCommerce platform or the WordPress platform is a platform for any kind of website. It's not e-commerce specific. It is once you add in WooCommerce and various other things, but there's a learning curve there. Shopify, by comparison, is specifically for e-commerce, and that's it. So I'm going to give that one to Shopify as well. Domain registration and email setup. Now, both of these were actually very similar, because what I suggested that you did, in my professional opinion, with Shopify was to actually register your email through an external domain provider, which is basically the same as you do with WordPress. So we can't really make a comparison between the two there. So that's a dead heat, right? I'm going to give that one a no clear winner, okay? Next one is support. Now, we saw how both of them have support, but Shopify, because it's a bona fide company listed on the stock exchange, etc., support is far more centralized. It's far more, dare I say, organized. There's a huge amount of focus on support coming from Shopify. WooCommerce, there's a lot of support out there, but you have to look for it out there on the internet. So again, really, I have to give that one to Shopify. Okay, so let's continue. Backup. Now, backup in both Shopify and WooCommerce was achieved by plugins, add-ons, external software solutions, basically. And you saw how with Shopify it was a sort of $5 solution. That was the one I'm recommending at least. And with WooCommerce, there's a great solution which is free. I mean, you can upgrade to paying. Now, $5 I think is a very worthwhile investment. And, in the grand scheme of things, a pretty small investment. So I don't think there's any real clear winner there. So I'm going with no clear winner, okay, on backup. Security, SSL. Both of these products offer SSL for free, and it's very easy to install. So again, no clear winner. Automatically adding products and the order fulfillment. Now, this was an interesting one because we looked at Oberlo and we looked at Ali Dropship and we also looked at Woo Dropship. And to make a really, really informed decision on that, you need to delve into all of those products, use them extensively, decide which one you prefer is the best, look at the price and say, okay, that's the one for me. Now, I know you almost certainly haven't looked at all three products in depth and used them extensively, but I have. So I can say to you, gun to my head, that they're all great, but gun to my head, I would go for Oberlo. That's the one that I prefer the most. It has the most ease of use. It's the one that I just like to go for out of those three if I really, really had to. Now, if we combine that with price, we had a price tag on Oberlo of basically $30 a month. Ali Dropship was an $89 one-off fee. So if you spread that over, let's say 3 years of the life of your store, could be longer, then you're looking at $2 to $3 a month for that. So way, way cheaper. And finally, Woo Dropship, which was something like $49 a month. So considerably more expensive than both of them. So that said, I still go for Oberlo. I think that $30 a month, again, in the grand scheme of things, when you're making 10,000, $30 is a small amount to consider, and I do think it's thoroughly worth it. So I'm handing that one to Shopify as well. Payment plans. Now, again, this was a little bit more complicated, and what I wanted to try to do in the short time that I have here was to unpick some of those complexities, and hopefully with that table that I put up, it enabled you to clarify the differences between what was available for Shopify and what was available for WooCommerce. Now, Shopify has its Shopify payments, which compared to everything else is the easiest to install, and it's the cheapest. And as I said many times in that lecture, it may not be available in your country. But given that it is out there, given that it is a product, and given it is the cheapest, I would say that I have to hand payment plans to Shopify as well. Okay, fixed monthly costs. We just looked at this. Now, this is a clear winner, right? This is basically WooCommerce. It has to be, because we had our Shopify monthly plan basically of sort of $29, and with WooCommerce that doesn't exist. So we get down to WooCommerce being basically a tenth of the price of Shopify for the fixed monthly costs. Now, the only thing I'm going to add to that, again, I'm going to refer to a sort of a $10,000 store because I think that's a good reference point. But if you are, or when you are hopefully running that $10,000 store, the difference between $30 a month and $3 a month is not going to be as significant for you, all right? But nonetheless, black and white comparison, there's no question that WooCommerce is way, way cheaper on the fixed monthly costs. Variable monthly costs. Now, this is quite a difficult one to sort of discuss in detail because it depends on sort of what you're going to do, all right? But I put apps and themes here, but the other thing that I, of course, should add in is the cost of things like Oberlo and or Ali Dropship, Woo Dropship. Those are potentially variable costs, right? Because in the beginning, you might not be paying anything for Oberlo, so that would be $0, and then it might jump up to $30. Okay, so that's potentially a variable cost. So it's difficult for me to really pin down what your variable costs might be. But if we just step back, we think about the Oberlo, for example, $30. You might want to buy a theme. You might want to add in some apps. I don't know. You might be looking at sort of $20 to $30 a month there for, on average, spread out over the lifetime of your store. So $50 to $60. And really, I can't see how different that would be with WooCommerce. You know, my experience, you probably will get some apps, you probably will buy some themes, you probably will use Ali Dropship or Woo Dropship, but the pricing is not different enough for me to say, well, one will be far cheaper on the variable cost than the other. So basically, I'm going to give that a no clear winner. So in summary, after all of that, what we can say for sure is that WooCommerce is much cheaper, at least on the fixed costs. But it's a more complex platform because it's not dedicated to e-commerce. It's going to take you longer to learn. And in my opinion, whereas it's a great technology, and if you want to go ahead and use it, you are going to be able to build out a great store. Yeah, these two, I want to say this again, both of these are superb solutions. But you know, we're comparing Rolls Royces with Rolls Royces here in a way, but it kind of offers no clear advantage over Shopify at the end of the day. So my verdict, my final verdict, take it or leave it, but this is my final verdict based on several years of experience, to say once again that these are both amazing platforms, totally capable of running your e-commerce business. But if you can afford it, if you can afford that monthly plan in the beginning, and it will get basically taken up very quickly, I think, once you start to build up your store anyway, go for Shopify. So just before I go, and if you're eager to learn even more, I'd love to show you my other courses, and you'll find them all here on ecommercemindset.com. That's me with my smiling face and my 70,000 plus students and many, many 5-star reviews. Now, as you scroll down through the page, you're going to see my various courses, which at the moment are on offer at substantial discounts. And of course, if you haven't joined the Facebook group, you are very welcome to join me, where you'll find 12,000 other members all willing to help you out. And as I scroll down towards the bottom, you will see I've got this bundle here where I'm saying save over $1,000. That's basically all of my courses grouped up into one place, so you can get the whole lot for a very low price and save yourself a considerable amount of money. So there we go. I really, really hope you'll come and join me on your next journey. I have so much more to share with you. Well done, you've reached the end of the course, and I really hope now you have a good idea of whether you want to go with Shopify or WooCommerce, and then the course has given you a really nice quick insight into the big differences between these two amazing platforms. So, you know, it's been great having you on board. I'd love to show you more. So please, you know, go back to that previous lecture where I put a couple of links on there to my other courses here. And yeah, let's build this thing out even further. I've got so much more to show you.